showing here is a notional example of how you can go and build this end-to-end connected company. Now you've seen at the demos that you were walking through for the previous pit stops how some of our customers are doing this for real. We're going to walk through a notional example to show off some of the new capabilities and how to think about this, and specifically how to go from the beginning and get started quickly and get something valuable out of the gate, and then grow into a fully connected end-to-end enterprise. So feel free to jump in with questions or stop me, things like that. If we go a little bit over, I probably won't get yelled at too much for that. But let's get started. For this, we're going to be using a notional medical supply chain company. So they both do the manufacturing of medical supplies like masks and syringes and things like that, and also the distribution to their customers, the hospitals, etc. So in this case, we want to see how they can use Palantir, Foundry, and AIP to go in and basically help them scale and grow. So we have here an example of what their supply chain looks like. This has things like their customers, distribution centers, deliveries, etc. We want to see how they can take advantage of this ontology that they've been building up to use a use case of something like customer support. So the problem here is we have a bunch of different modalities coming in. You have your emails of customers asking about problems. You have images coming in from your support tickets. You've got things like voicemails from your local distributors. You want to be able to handle all of those different things. And how do you actually go take all that stuff and start actioning it? And how can you use AIP to help that? So you can take a quick look here. Here we got some things like voicemails where I can hear Jack's lovely voice. Hearing about problems that you might have in your supply chain. We've also got things like images, which include a bunch of relevant data for going in and actually solving these problems. Things like, hey, this is a picture of this shipping tag, but also it's got some writing on it, and being able to take this and actually do useful stuff. So the first thing we want here is the ability to go in and get started as fast as possible. So in a couple of clicks, we can use some of the new capabilities in AIP to be able to go and bring this into a form where you can already start reasoning about it, in a form that you might already, that might be more convenient for you to work with out of the box. Something like taking the voicemails and being able to transcribe them. This is a couple clicks. This is a single transform in Pipeline Builder that I'm showing here. This is our no-code data transformation tool. So we can go in and say, hey, I want to go in, take these voicemails that I get that I've connected in to Foundry and transform them together. And then maybe I want to join those together with some contact information I have, so I can enrich that with stuff like, hey, where is this data coming from? Who is calling? Is it someone in my CRM already? Is it something where I can use that information to then make some of those decisions? I also have down here things like those PDFs, being able to use a vision language model to be able to start extracting some of the relevant data here. So I can go in and say, hey, I want you to extract out the contents, but also if there's any destination information or actions that I should be taking, bring that out as well, so that I can then go reason with that as structured data and text versus needing to go in and figure all that out. Once I have this, I can bring this into my ontology and I can start working with it. Now, the real thing that I want to build here is a view that's kind of like this, a view where it can accelerate my, say, customer service manager or something like that, where I have incoming issues. Some of that is taken care of automatically, and then for the things that aren't taken care of automatically, the kind of exceptional cases, those I can deal with manually, and I can put my effort into the 10-20% that I actually need to focus on and spend my time on. So how do we actually build something like this? We can use something like Workflow Builder to see what's under the hood. So Workflow Builder is a new capability we shipped this year that's like the X-ray for the different things that are available in the platform. On the right, you have that same view that we were showing you before, but on the left, you have all the ingredients that actually make up this view. This is the object types that represent your ontology underneath. Things like the raw materials, manufacturing plants, orders, finished goods, any alerts you have, things like that. You have the functions that define the logic that's related to your enterprise. Things like, I have a raw material inventory calculation. I might have something that goes in and handles a redistribution. I might have a model that's used for some of these things. And also in the age of AIP, the different language models that I might use here. Things like 3.5 Sonnet, some open source models like Llama, things like GPT-4o, etc. Being able to use a range of different models to do the task that they're best at. And I can connect those into the actions here. This is that not only the ability to read data in, but also do things in the real world. I want to be able to cancel orders. I want to be able to change the priority. I want to be able to reallocate inventory. By being able to encode these things, I can do that everywhere. And this is the theme that you'll see throughout this demo and also throughout the demos that you've been seeing with what our customers are building. Is it's the ability to synthesize this the context you need to make a decision, and then go and actually make that decision and thread that through not just a single workflow but your whole organization. And so going from here, in this case, we're setting up this automation. And to do that, we're using AIP logic, which are no-code function builder to let you work with AI and get the data in your ontology. So we have a couple of different logics connected into this application. I'm going to look at this voicemail logic in particular as an example. So this operates on a new voicemail as it comes in. You can set this up manually. It brings in a bunch of context here. So I can, this is a view really for builders. This isn't something that our end users are going to see, but if you have builders in your organization, they'll be able to use this as almost a development environment for working with AI. And you don't necessarily need to be able to code to do this. It's a point and click tool that you can use. And of course, if you want to use code, that's there too, and you can jump into that. So we see it brings in a bunch of different relevant pieces of context, things like the manufacturing plant, distribution centers. It does some calculation to figure out what is the actual impact of this. And we can see this happening on the right-hand side. You see things like it querying using various different tools, things like looking up the relevant support tickets that might be open, finished goods that are related. Is there any existing work happening for this customer? Using tools like the reallocation model. These might look familiar because we saw this on that previous screen. It's the same ingredients that go in to put this together. So once we have this, we can connect it together into the view that our actual builders will use. So this is a custom view that you might have where it looks something like a dashboard. And this is built using our no-code tools like Workshop, which let you build applications that you can present to different domain-specific users.
But does it scrape the voicemail and then you've loaded keywords? Like, how does it know what like table to go into? You know what I'm saying?
Great question. So this is one of the new capabilities that AIP unlocks. So there's a couple of ingredients that go into something like that. We use a speech-to-text model called Whisper, an open source model that we deploy for you. In fact, it's one transform to run it. You can get it in code, things like that. Get it into a text form. Once you have that, you can then use the power of language models and some of the ingredients you'll see later on in Patrick's portion here, where you'll be able to use built-in tools like semantic search, but enhance that with ontology search to be able to take your structured and unstructured information, use the reasoning from the language model, combine it with the interface that your user is using. So once we have something like this, we can go in and say, all right, I'm actually building up some confidence that this is actually what I want to do. So as I get that confidence, I can go in and introduce an automation. So I can then connect up an automation so that every time a new voicemail comes in, it can automatically go through and execute some actions. Now, you don't want to execute all actions automatically, so you can do things like have thresholds, or if a total dollar value is under some threshold, then you allow automatic executions. Or if it's for a specific category of work, maybe you allow automatic executions. But for other ones, we present it to the user in the view that makes sense for that user, so that they can go and see and work with it. So over time, this gives me more and more time to be able to spend on the important parts, and it also creates this feedback loop. Because I'm capturing this in the ontology, over time I can see what are the kinds of issues that are coming up again and again, and I can start building up where I want to invest in improving things over time. So we can see a case here of where I might want to prioritize.
Yeah, so as you can see here at the bottom, it looks like our biggest issue is in production line and maintenance. It sounds like that's a recurring issue for our business, only unlocked through Power BI. So now that we know that, where does that information go? So in a traditional non-connected company, this might go to leadership, they might have a meeting about it, and then it will get passed down to the relevant stakeholders. At a connected company, we want that to go right in the hands of the technicians that are going to be responsible for fixing that issue. So at Palantir, we love building applications for the edge, to be on tablets and phones and on people's work devices. So that's what you're seeing here. This is a maintenance cockpit. It is something for your technicians that are on the ground of your factory floor working on machines to be taking in these issues that are coming in from your customers and repairing them right then and there. So let's say I'm one of these technicians and I'm seeing incoming claims that I need to go work on. And it looks like I need to work on one concerning the heat of the seats in the cab of the 2023 Hallmaster. So to fix this problem, I as the technician need to go find the relevant documentation that's going to help me get this figured out. But therein lies the issue. How do I look at a huge amount of documentation to figure out what is going to be relevant to me? We're talking about search. So search via keywords is relatively basic. It might run out quickly. Let's assume that I've tried it and it hasn't worked. What many people try next is something called a semantic search. If you're unfamiliar, a semantic search is kind of like looking up the meaning of text. So you're looking for things that generally have the same gist. Now sometimes this is very, very powerful, but in operational use cases like this, it can often fall flat. So in this case, I've done a semantic search on this claim from a customer. There's something about this overheating of the cab, and I get something related to seat overheating. So at first glance, this looks relevant. It's semantically similar. The search worked properly, but it's for a model that's completely irrelevant to the Hallmaster that I'm supposed to be working on now. So how do you design a search algorithm that is not only going to take in the meaning and more nuanced parts of a customer claim, but it's also going to connect it with my ontology, the business context that I would need as a technician to succeed. So let's look at what this looks like on the ontology side. So when I am working on the ontology side, I have a massive amount of context that I can pull in about what's relevant to all these objects. So we have not only our models, but we have past maintenance reports. We have documentation related to our models. Let's just run a search and see what it looks like. So we can see AIP pops up again and starts pulling together relevant information that is going to be relevant. Okay, so it looks like it found something. Looks pretty relevant. Hallmaster 2023 model, that's the model I'm looking for. Engine overheating issue, that's exactly the problem we're trying to figure out. So how did it do that? How did it find something that was that relevant to the thing that I was doing on the ground? We can take a look at AIP's chain of thought and figure out what sort of things are relevant. Well, the first thing I figured out is that I'm talking about a vehicle model called the Hallmaster from 2023. That's using context from my business that was not provided to the model any other way than the ontology. And not only is it finding that relevant documentation, it's looking through past pieces of information related to the maintenance of it. So that's going 2 or 3 steps out from what I originally input into the model. So let's ask AIP to come up with a solution based on what it found so far. So, I mean, the one thing to point out that's pretty damn cool is like, not only has it read the model and given me a recommendation, it's also looked at these past reports and found that the vehicle has recently had repeated radiator leaks. So that's an insight of an issue with my vehicle that AIP was able to come out just on the fly. So that's where ontology, especially in an edge operational sense, can start kicking the tires faster.